excuse me. Sorry, this came up and okay. All right, thanks again. My name is Garrett Percio. I am the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences librarian at Humboldt State University, and I want to thank you for coming to tonight's workshop. Today, I'm going to be talking about how to research your ballot for the upcoming elections. So yeah, everybody's getting ready to cast their vote for the upcoming election, and you might be wondering, okay, where can I get information to research things like candidates voting at the local level, or maybe even some of like the local or state initiatives. So with tonight's workshop, I want to help you be able to find information that you can use to inform your decision as you prepare to again cast your ballot. So tonight what I'll be doing is I'll be showing you some different resources you can use. These are going to be things you can use to look at candidates at the local level, as well as maybe some statewide races. I will be sure to state what source I'm referencing, and also put it in the chat as well. And again, these are just some sources you can use. It's by no means a comprehensive list of everything that's out there. These are just some ways that you can begin to look at either candidates or initiatives at the local and statewide level. And so I hope this workshop is helpful for all of you watching at home. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and begin. I'm going to do a screen share. So give me 1 second to get my screen up and running. All right, and can everybody give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Okay, all right, everybody can see my screen. So again, my name is Garrett Percio. I work at HSU, and I'm delighted to have you in today's workshop. Okay, so for today, I just want to talk quickly about what down ballot voting is. So this is a term you might have heard before, and I'll briefly go over this at the beginning of what this means. And then again, I'm going to show you some different sources today that you can use to research what you'll be voting on. There's going to be a lot of things on your ballot coming up. So maybe you've already begun to fill out your ballot. Maybe you're still not quite sure where to begin. So I hope this workshop is helpful for you, regardless of where you're at in the voting process. Just want to quickly point out that next Tuesday, a week from tonight, will be the deadline to submit your ballot. So if you haven't already done so, you can put it into the mail. It has to be postmarked by next Tuesday. You can also drop it off. There are different locations in Humboldt County that you can deposit your ballot to, either the County Office of Elections. There's also some locations around the different towns and communities that you can utilize as well. So you can use those to submit your ballot. But again, next Tuesday is the deadline. So again, if you haven't submitted your ballot yet, there's still time. Just remember that it's next Tuesday. And if you're going to mail it, it has to be postmarked by Tuesday. You can also drop it off at those locations by next Tuesday. Okay, so with the workshop, what I'd like to do is talk about down ballot voting. So in certain years, or actually in most years, certain races get more attention than others. As my friend Corin said, this year it's the presidential election, so that's getting all the attention right now. In 2 years, we'll be voting on who's running for governor, so that will get a lot of attention here in California. And so really with down ballot voting, it just refers to the process of after voting for that top position. And like I said, in this year, it's going to be who's running for president. But once you get past that, decision, you're going to be voting on other initiatives and candidates as well. So it might be, who's running for your city council, who's running for, your school board, district supervisor, what kind of local initiatives are you voting on? What kind of statewide initiatives are you voting on? So basically, it's going to be everything after whatever at the top of that ticket. And again, in this year, the top ticket's going to be who's running for president, but so you may not know where to begin looking for information on the other races and the other positions. So with tonight's workshop, I want to help you be able to find out information. And like I said, tonight I'll be focusing specifically on Humboldt County races and elections. But like I said, if you want to look at information in another county, you can use some of these resources as well. So if you're watching from out of Humboldt County, I'm really glad to be having you join us here. But again, this is going to focus on primarily Humboldt County, but you can also use these to locate information in other locations as well. Okay, so I'm just doing a quick quiz. You're probably wondering, why am I beginning with a quiz so early on? I've barely touched upon anything. I've only shown you one slide with information so far. So this is just for you at home to think about, what you already know about your representatives and what you'll be voting on in the upcoming elections. So I'm going to give you 4 questions. And the questions are as follows. So again, if we were in a large group here in Zoom, I'd encourage you to put your answers into the chat if you want to do so, and you're in attendance tonight, feel free to do so. But for those of you just watching at home or watching the recording, I just want you to think about a couple of different things. So for example, I want you to think about who is the person that currently represents you in the House of Representatives in Congress, who currently represents you in the California State Assembly. I want you to name how many ballot measures you'll be voting on this year at the statewide level. And then at the local level, how many ballot measures are you voting on as well? So again, with the first two categories, I just wanted to, again, think about who represents you currently. There might be people who have held the office for multiple terms. Might be somebody who's maybe challenging them for their seat. And with both the House of Representatives and the State Assembly, these positions are voted on every 2 years. Then with the questions number 3 and 4, that's going to depend on a couple factors. So we're all going to be voting on the same number of state ballot measures. All of us live in California. Depending on where you live, though, that's going to impact how many local measures you're voting on, because you might live, for example, in Eureka, Arcata, Fortuna, wherever you're living, that's going to impact how many local measures you'll be voting on. So again, those of you who are in attendance tonight, feel free to put your answers into the chat. For those of you watching at home, just think about what each of these answers might be. And if you don't know, that's totally fine too. With tonight's workshop, I want you to think about, if you didn't know the answers to these questions, how could you look this up? And like I said, I'll show you some resources that you can use just to look up the answers to these questions. So I'll give folks another 10 seconds. And again, if you want to put your answers in the chat, feel free to do so. If you don't want to, that's totally fine. Again, just think about, if you know the answers to these questions, great. If not, like I said, I will help you tonight to look up this information so that you can have it. Okay, let me just check the chat, see if there's any responses, and there are not. So, okay, so I'll just go over the answers very quickly. So currently House of Representatives for Humboldt County, that person is Jared Huffman. He's a representative in District number 2 for House of Representatives. For answer number 2, State Assembly, that is currently Jim Wood. He is a representative at that level. For number 3, we were voting on 12 initiatives this year. So we've probably seen a lot in the news. You might be like me and you just keep getting bombarded with different flyers on different propositions. So there are 12 altogether, props 14 through 25. And then, like I said, at the local level, it's going to really depend on where you live. So, like I said, depending on where you live, either in, Eureka, Arcata, McKinleyville, Fortuna, wherever, that's going to, dictate how many local measures you vote on, because some might be, for example, just in your city. Some might be just at, for a certain region or area. But like I said, where you live is going to impact, is going to directly impact how many measures you vote on in your local community. So what I want to do next is I'm actually going to stop showing my presentation. I'm actually going to go to a couple websites to show you, again, how to look up what you're voting on and where you can go to get some information on your topic. Okay, so the first resource I'm going to show you is called Voter's Edge. So this is a website for voters in California. And why I begin with this resource is because, like I said, you may be watching, you already know, okay, you're voting on for different races, but maybe you just aren't sure, what you're voting on. Maybe you're new to the community. Maybe you haven't, voted before. Maybe it's your very first time voting, and you may not know, okay, what are you going to vote on after you cast your vote for president? So one resource that this can be helpful with that is this Voter's Edge site. And what I'll show you in a second is you can enter an address. And in this case, I've entered the address for my employer. So I work at HSU. So if I were living on campus as a student, for example, I could enter the university's address, and it's actually going to tell me what I'm voting on from the top of my ballot all the way to the bottom. So I'll go ahead and enter I've already entered my address. I'll go ahead and click on where it says Find My Ballot. But to get to Voter's Edge, the website is just votersedge.org/en/California. So again, you can access this on your own from on your device. And I'll go ahead and begin and show you how this tool can be useful to at least getting the process to research what's on your ballot. Okay, so I've entered my address onto Voter's Edge, and now I see some information. So I'm just going to quickly scroll down my screen and just show you what my ballot's going to look like. So like I said, earlier I was talking about how, the item at the top of the ticket this year is running for president. So here are the different candidates for president. I'm not going to focus on this in this session. But what I do want to focus on is all the other positions that are on my ballot as well. So here I see, for example, House Representatives position. So again, I referenced that Jared Huffman is our current representative. The challenger this year is Dale K. Messing. I'll go down the list even further, and I see for State Assembly, again, here's the incumbent Jim Wood. Here's the challenger, Charlotte Savalos. I apologize if I mispronounced the name incorrectly. But then as I go down further, I'm seeing things like, in this case, was running for the local school district board, was running for city council. And then I get down into this different state measures. So again, I said earlier, we're voting on 12 different ones at the state level. So here's, for example, Prop 14, all the way down through 25. And then down here, like I said, depending on like what city you live in, what your address is, that's going to impact how many local measures you're voting on. So again, if I was living on a campus at HSU, I'd be voting on measures A, B, and F. So again, depending on like what you enter into Voter's Edge, yours might look a little different, it might look very different. It's all going to depend on your location. This is at least where you can begin to find information on what you're going to be voting on, for your ballot. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the top of my ballot. Okay, so again, I'm not going to focus on who's running for president. I'm going to start with the House of Representatives. So if I click on this link right here, so again, I'm focusing on the candidates for the House of Representatives for District 2 in California. So what Voter's Edge does is it compiles information on candidates for different races, and with some information you'll see, it's going to have a lot of information on candidates, others maybe not so much. So for example, with Jared Huffman, looks like he's the incumbent. We'll see what information is available on his profile page. So I'm just going to take a quick glance down. Again, I'm not going to go too in depth into these. So the purpose of this workshop is to get you to look at different sources, and you can use information however you choose. But again, this is just one resource you can consult to find information on, in this case, this candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives. So I'm going down, I'm seeing information such as who supports a candidate, who gave money, other info is available as well. I'm not seeing a website, unfortunately, but I'll show you another resource you can use in a minute that might also be helpful in looking up this candidate as well. Let's go ahead back and check the other candidate for this position. I'm going to select Dale K. Messing's profile. So again, who supports a candidate, some contributions, but notice here too, there's also a website for this candidate. So like I said, with Voter's Edge, with some races or some measures, it's going to have a lot of information, others maybe not so much. In this case, there's only like a little bit of information for each candidate, so you might have to go and dig a little bit more, but because both are running for the House of Representatives, you'll probably be able to find a website or at least something online that talks about what they want to do, what they want to accomplish if they're chosen to this particular position. So in this case, we saw for one candidate, there was no website available, so you can't really see what they want to do, but it could just be that maybe just this website doesn't itself have information from the candidate. You would probably type in, Jared Huffman, Congress, 2020, in like a search engine, for example, you'd probably be able to find information on what he wants to do if he's chosen to maintain a seat. But in this case, this candidate does have a website listed on Voter's Edge. So again, you're going to see different levels of information. Depending on like what the race is, what kind of information has been provided to the website. So if you're not seeing everything you'd like to know, there's other ways to find the information as well. Okay, so I'm going to go back another step, and I want to talk about the state assembly. So again, just going down my ballot, I just want to see what information is available, what I can learn about each of the candidates. So again, I'll just click on this. So I'll go with the incumbent again, Jim Wood. So again, more information. Okay, so who's supporting the candidate? Okay, so this one does have a website, so I could click on that and go and see what the person, what the policies are, what they've done previously, what they want to accomplish. Again, if elected to maintain their respective seats. I'll go back one step and I'll look at the, I will look at the challengers profile as well. So again, some information. I see a website down here as well, an email address. Not a lot of information, unfortunately. So like I said, so with some of these, said more information than others. But let me show you another resource really quickly that might also be helpful as well if you're looking for like maybe a race at like either like the like the statewide level, maybe even the national level. And this resource is called Ballotpedia. So this is a website that focuses on like races like across the U.S. So there's going to be information on candidates running for Congress, different like state legislatures, governors, and so this can be kind of a useful resource. One thing I'm not necessarily a fan of with this site is the fact that it doesn't like if I were like use this sample ballot lookup tool in the middle, it's not going to have like the races that are at the local level. So unfortunately, it's not going to be as thorough as Voters Edge is. So I would, if you were looking at, if you wanted like what's on your ballot, from like top to bottom, I would say use Voters Edge before you use Ballotpedia. But let's say you're in another state, you want to see what's on your ballot. This can at least give you some idea of what you're voting on. But again, with Ballotpedia's, voter sample ballot lookup, it's not going to be as thorough as the one is for Voters Edge. But again, Voters Edge is just for California, so just something to keep in mind. Again, with Ballotpedia, there can be a lot of information here as well. And so what I want to show you on this side is like, let's say you wanted to look up, the candidates that are running for both for Congress as well as the state legislatures. You can go down here on Ballotpedia. So again, I'm on the main site for Ballotpedia. So it's just ballotpedia.org/main page. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit further to the very bottom of this website. So I'm going to look at, for example, in 2020 elections over here on the left-hand side, who's running for different positions. So I'm going to choose who's running for Congress. So I'm going to click on the link that says U.S. Congress. So here's the 2020 elections page, and I'm going to go down a little bit further. And I want to be able to choose my district. So remember, this is what I saw on Voters Edge. I'm in District 2 for California. So I'm going to scroll down here on the right-hand side where it says congressional elections. And I'm going to choose under U.S. House elections by state. I'm going to choose California. And then I want to choose district number 2. So I see over here under California district pages, I see district number 2. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that link as well. So here's information on the 2nd congressional district race for California. And I'm going to go down a little bit further. So there's some background information. And with Ballotpedia, sometimes like what you're looking at, it can be very thorough. It might have like lots of different sources listed at the very bottom of a particular page. So I just want to see, what information is available about the candidates? What can I learn that maybe I didn't learn from Voters Edge? So I'll go down a little bit further. So I see here information on, okay, so see the different candidates. If I go back and click on Jared Huffman again, let's see what information is available on the current incumbent for our current House Representative seat. I just here a little bit more thorough. I'm gonna go down a little bit further to see what else is available. So biography, career. So actually a great example of, one website maybe not being as thorough as another one, but at least here you can actually see more, from the particular candidate. And again, over here under contact, you can see the official website, other information as well. So it's up to you just to determine, okay, what do you want to, research? What do you want to look up for the candidates? And I'll go down a little bit further. And again, just more information about the candidate itself. If I go back and do the same for the challenger, we'll see what information is available on Dale K. Mensing. So again, here's some more information. Again, like I said, more thorough than Voters Edge. So you might look around a little bit just to learn as much as you can. And with research, I always encourage folks to think about, okay, checking multiple locations. In this case, you might choose Voters Edge, you might choose Ballotpedia as well. So some other websites you can look for as well. But again, definitely look in different locations for information. And so here's where we see more information on this case on the challenger. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the home page. I'm gonna do the same thing for the candidate for the state assembly. So I'm gonna go again back down to the bottom of the Ballot PD homepage. I'm gonna click on where it says state legislatures. And I'm gonna again go down and choose what state I wanna select. So this goes over here under 2020 elections. I'm gonna choose a chamber. In this case, I'm looking for California Assembly. So I'm gonna choose that from the selection list. It's going to give me the different options for the state assembly for California. And again, this is also District 2. So let me go ahead and find district number 2. Give me a second here. Okay, we're already on that page. And okay. Okay, here we go. So here's the State Assembly District for California. And again, District 2 is where we're at. So I see information on both candidates. I can click on information, for example, for Jim Wood, the incumbent. Quickly take a look at his page. Get more information, committee assignments, other information available. So I can look at this and use that to inform my decision. If I go back and look at the challenger, here's more information for Charlotte Savalos. So again, let's see how thorough this is. So some information, maybe not as much because she hasn't served in the state assembly before, but again, on the right-hand side, contact information, campaign website. So again, just check out some different sources. You might find more information in one source versus another. And so Ballot PD could be one source you use to locate information on either candidates at different levels or maybe even the state ballot measures as well. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my voter's edge because I'm still using this to determine what am I voting on. So again, I'm going to go down the ticket and see what else I'm voting on. So I've done both House Representatives and state legislature for the assembly. Now I'm going to go down a little bit further. Now we get into the Northern Humboldt Union High School District candidates. And so again, we know we've seen these couple websites with lots of information, but with some of these, there may not be much. So in this case, for example, if I were to click on this candidate over here, Janelle Jones, looks like the information has been provided. So there's not much here. So again, you might be wondering, okay, how do I look up a candidate that maybe I've not, so maybe it's maybe like running for a local race. In this case, there's not much here on Janelle Jones. I'll go back one spot and pick another candidate. Pick a Cedric K. Aaron Jr. So here there's some information, but again, not much. And so there's just an email address to contact the candidate with. So with local races, I always encourage you to not just rely on a website. One thing you can think about is, okay, where's the candidate getting their information out? So for example, with Cedric K. Aaron Jr., I was looking at information, trying to figure out, okay, what is this person running on? Like, what do they want to do as a candidate for this particular office? So one thing I was looking at was I said like different media options. So I chose, for example, or I found the candidate has a Facebook page. So I was able to look at this location and see, okay, where's the candidates? Like, what's the candidate want to do? What are they speaking at any events? And there were some events listed that I was able to, access recordings for. So again, the local race might be a social media page. So you might have to maybe see, does the candidate have a Facebook page? Is there like another, location that they might have? There might be a website potentially. In this case, I was able to find the Facebook page for the candidate. I also turned to local media as well. And this candidate also had, there was a piece written in Mad River Union in the last month or so. So again, information about the candidates, and I'm trying to gather information as much as I can, to see, okay, what can I learn about the candidate? Because I don't know this person in particular, but I wanted to know, okay, since they're running for a position I'll be voting on, what can I gather to help me make a decision? Should I vote for the candidate? Should I not vote for the candidate? I just want to see what I can learn about the candidate so that I can use that to inform my decision in my process. And also, like I said, I was talking earlier about how, with this candidate, I was looking on the social media page, trying to find out, okay, where have they spoken? Was there maybe like a community event that they had gone to or maybe participated in? And the candidate participated in an event, I think in the last month or so, that was hosted online by the League of Women Voters of Humboldt County. And so there was a link to a YouTube page on the candidates, like I said, on the social media page. So I was able to find the recording. And this, like I said, again, this is probably from September 30th. So again, I could watch the video. I could hear what the candidate had to say about what they wanted to do if chosen for the office. And so again, you might not, definitely try looking at different locations. In this case, I was able to find both, like I said, like a local, news story. I was able to find a social media page. I found a YouTube recording of a presentation that he'd given at a local candidate forum. So again, with searching for information, like I said, you can use sources like Voters Edge, you can use Ballotpedia, but you might have to, especially for like local races, really think about, okay, where can I find information on the candidate? And again, these can be helpful in researching the candidate and trying to figure out, what do they want to do once they are chosen to their office that they're running for. Okay, I'll go back to my Voters Edge list. And again, just going down my list. So we've talked about candidate for the school district board. City council, let's touch upon very briefly. So again, with some candidates, there's be a lot of information, others maybe not so much. So again, some of these already, filled out, as you can see here, priorities for each of the candidates. So as you see here, some do not necessarily have information on this site. It may just be that maybe they weren't able to fill it out. So again, you can click on these and, look and see what's available. Again, I always look for information, like I said, maybe either a website, a Facebook page, any events that they spoke at, where they can actually talk about what they want to do if they're chosen to their office. But again, with some of these sites like either Voters Edge or Ballotpedia, there may not be enough information about the candidate. But again, try multiple locations, try different searches. Try search engine. See what you can find. Maybe just type in like their name and what position they're running for, and then that should hopefully help you find some different sources on the candidate. Okay, so I'm going to keep going down my ballot. Excuse me. Okay, so now I'm at the state ballot measures. So again, there's 12 of these this year, propositions 14 to 25. And so you might be thinking, okay, where do I begin to find information on these? Again, you probably maybe like me, you've got a lot of things either through the mail, you're seeing ads on TV or social media or wherever. You're not quite sure. Okay, what do these props actually say? Like what do they actually want to do? So a couple resources you can use. Again, you see here, Voters Edge, for example, has information on the different initiatives. So I can click on one of these links, for example. And there's going to be information on the initiative. So you should find information on what happens if it passes, if you vote yes, what that means. If you vote no, what does that mean? The impact, any like sort of analysis, any information that can help you decide, okay, if this passes, here's what the impact's going to be. Like is it going to, like in this case, I think this is a bond measure. So like how much is it going to cost the state, and for how long is it going to impact us? So like I said, this is one resource you can utilize. Another one that's good to use, especially for like the state ballot measures, is the California Secretary of State website. So that website, I'll pull that up, is again just Secretary of State, or in this case, sos.ca.gov/elections. So that's where you can go to find information on the state ballot measures. So from the homepage for the Secretary of State for California, I can go to where it says elections. And I will click on down here where it says Official Voter Information Guide. And with this site, so you can download PDFs. Some information is going to be available in PDF. Others are going to be available directly on the website itself. You can get the full text version here, I believe. And then if you go up here to the top left corner under propositions, again, information for all the different bond measures. So again, I'll stick with number 14. So I click on Prop 14 information here. I'm going to see, the summary of the bond. So in other words, here's what's going to happen if it passes. Again, what a yes vote means, what a no vote means. There's some arguments for and against. Usually, in this case, they have information on like, who's supporting it, maybe additional websites, and like, okay, here's why we think you should vote for it. Here's why you should vote against it. So like I said, all this information can be useful to help you decide on, how you want to vote. But again, this is a yes and 14 site, and there's no on 14 site, but it doesn't necessarily mean that one doesn't exist. It might just be that there just isn't one on this particular website. So again, information here on the left-hand side. So under each proposition, there's going to be information like the official title and summary. So some more information, and it should tell you, who prepared this in this case. The Attorney General's office prepared the information that's available to you. So in other words, here's the cost, amount of, how much it's going to cost in principal and interest, how long it's going to be to pay it back. If we go down here to analysis, here's where it gets into, okay, what's going to be the impact of this measure. So if Prop 14 does pass, what's it going to mean in terms of, in terms of like, in this case, unfortunately, like finances, what's going to mean in terms of like, how it's going to impact, our daily lives. This information should be available here in this particular write-up. Again, arguments and rebuttals are also factored into this as well. So again, those who support it are saying, you should vote yes on 14. Here's why. Those of you saying no, you should not vote on 14. Here's why. And then usually they'll have a rebuttal to each argument. So if you go down a little bit further, for example, we'll go down here a little bit. And okay, so here's a rebuttal to the against 14 argument. Here's a rebuttal to those in favor of Prop 14. So let's say, you can read through these. It's up to you to determine, if you want to, how much you want to, how much weight you want to put on these, each of these, these write-ups. But again, I just want you to know that this is here for you. If you want to utilize it, feel free to do so. If not, it's totally up to you. And with these, also you can also download the text of the full law itself. So if you actually want to try and see, okay, what the actual wording say, you can download these here. And so like I said, with the text of the proposed law, that's available to you, and you can also print out other information as well. Okay, so I think we're almost at the very end. So I'm going back to my ballot sheet. And again, I'm just going through the list, trying to see, okay, what do I need to look at? What can I research? And so I'll go down to the very end here. So again, now I'm looking at local measures. So this is going to be things, in this case, for me, it would be measure A, measure B, and measure F. So I want to know where can I actually go to get information on each of these each of the initiatives. So you can do like we did before with our one candidate for the Northern Humboldt Union School District. You can look at, you can go to a search engine. You can just type in, measure B, Humboldt County, measure A, wherever, maybe it's in a certain town. You can also go to your county office of elections. So if I go up here to the next site on the list, so again, this is the Humboldt County Office of Elections. So here's the URL up here. I'm not going to say it out, but it's just, it's humboldt.gov/org/890/elections voter registration. I know that's a long one, but that's the website you can go to. Again, you can just do a search engine search and just type in Humboldt County Office of Elections. Or if you're in another county and you're watching this recording, just type in your county office of elections, and you can find that information on your local measures through that site. Okay, so I'm going to go down here again. I want to find information on each of these initiatives. So I'm going to go down here a little bit further. I see presidential election November 3rd, 2020. I'm going to click on that link. And again, I want to find information on each of the proposed initiatives. So I'm going to go down here, and on the right-hand side, I see where it says local measures. And again, if you're watching outside of Humboldt County, it might look a little different depending on like what county website you're on, but the information should be there. So again, I'm clicking on where it says local measures. So here I see each of the measures listed, and for Humboldt County, and so this is the entire county, but again, you're not voting on every single one of these. Some of these will be very specific to maybe a certain region or a certain city. Altogether, I think we have measures A through I this year. So again, depending on where you live, you will vote on some of these, but you will not vote on all of these. So just keep that in mind. And for each of these measures, for example, you will find information. So if I want to look up measure A, for example, I can click on this link here. So information, for example, like the full text, what's that going to be? In this case, if I were to click on this, it's going to allow me to download these to my computer. So you might have to read through some of these, on your own, but at least you know where to go to get the information on like, what's going to be, what does the actual text say? What's the analysis? Again, with some of these, you'll find arguments for and against. In this case, people who are supporting Measure A wanted, submitted an argument for it. Some who are voting against it provide an argument as to why you should not vote on Measure A. In contrast, you might see different levels of information for other measures. So if I were to choose, for example, Measure C, just pull one example from this. I think this one. Okay, so in this case, yeah, Measure C. So in this case, before we saw, full text, link, we saw an impartial analysis link, but we also saw an argument against link. In this case, there's only an argument for link. So again, you might just have to see if you can find, again, maybe there's like a local news piece on it, maybe either an article in a local newspaper, maybe a local TV station did a report on it. But again, the information's out there, so it's up to you to go out and find it. And with that, I'm just going to go back to my ballot just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, so it's the end of my ballot. So again, I've covered everything I wanted to research. So again, you can use Voter's Edge to look up, what you're going to vote on. You can use sources like Ballotpedia, your county office of elections, California Secretary of State website. Again, you can also use a search engine to find information on a candidate running for a local race. So in this case, like I said, I was able to find a recording on YouTube. I was able to find a social media website, a local piece in a local newspaper. So again, there's different ways you can approach, looking for information on different candidates. And if you'd like to discuss this further, feel free to email me. My email address is gap13, that's gap13@humboldt.edu. Again, gap13 at humboldt.edu. And I hope this presentation was helpful to all of you watching at home. So thank you for watching this recording. And are there any questions from the audience?
I don't think we have any questions right now. So thanks, Garrett. That was super informative, and I'm sure it'll really help people with elections, both this one and in the future.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. And with that, we'll go ahead and end it for the evening. Thanks for watching.